a dose of J. And if you're new to this channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment down below. Now, when it comes down to cars in the car community, there are those cars that we often forget about all the time. This video is going to be about the top cars that are forgotten about or are the most underrated in the car community of today. Now, keep in mind, it may differ from where you live and what your scene is in whichever part of the world you're from. For the first car on this list, I'm definitely going to go with the Mitsubishi 3000 GT. Why I say this is because this car is such a good car for what it is. I feel like these cars are super rare, especially if you can get the VR4 in 1999 edition that year. If you can get that year, mint. They're not the most powerful, obviously, even non-turbo or turbo form, but either way, they're still a pretty powerful car, and it has plenty enough power to get around on your day-to-day life basis. You guys can't argue. The 90s made the best cars ever, and there's no mistaking that. The 90s just had the best, hands down, designs ever. They were just clean, simple, and just looked beautiful. Lower it, put some wheels on it, absolutely stunning every time. Breaks necks like crazy, and the Mitsubishi 3000 GT is just that car that can do it. Now, I don't know why people don't really go for these cars as much. I know they're not really, you can't really find them a lot either, but if you can find yourself a good one, I say you go ahead and cop one. Wouldn't it be awesome to have a car that you can drive around that not a whole bunch of people have? You don't have to worry about seeing it a lot. And to keep in mind, once you have cars that are less common, it's actually proven that it's cheaper car insurance. But anyway, the Mitsubishi 3000 GT would definitely be the first car that I'd say is very underrated. And if you are looking for one of these cars or have never seen one before, I suggest you look some up and check them out because they are awesome. Second car on this list, I'll definitely have to go with the DSMs, the Eagle Talons, Mitsubishi Eclipse, the Plymouth Laser. One of those times where in the 90s where Chrysler and Mitsubishi came together and made a beautiful car. Again, 90s, mint. But anyway, Mitsubishi Eclipse, Eagle Talon / whatever, is a car that can make tons of power. Now there is the slow 420A motor that is inside the car from the non-turbo. You can get the 4G motor in there that's out of the Evo. That's right, the Evo. Think about that. There's a reason why they call the Eclipse a poor man's Evo. First gen has the more reliable motor. Don't cheap out on anything though. You get what you pay for. Don't forget that. The Eclipse is a stunning, beautiful car that till this day still breaks my neck when I see it. Matter of fact, that was actually one of the cars I was looking at before owning the Del Sol. With a couple bolt-ons and a few mods, they can easily make some good power. There's a reason why they call it the poor man's Evo. What other car that you can get that has a Evo motor, a two-door, all-wheel drive, turbocharged car that can make plenty of power with just a few bolt-ons? Keep in mind, when you do get this car, there is a very big problem. And the only big problem is that these cars are always beat to hell. Like, you can't find one in good condition. And if you do, the price is beyond the roof. But if you can find a good one for a decent price, you'll be loving that thing. Now, do keep in mind, these cars do like to break down a lot, but of course, if you just maintain the car and put quality parts inside the car, you'll be fine. And we move on to the third car of this list, and I would say it's the Toyota MR2. And you guys remember these cars. Now, of course, there was the first gen, the second gen, and the third gen, but we all know which one is the hands down best looking one of them all. Of course, we're talking about the second generation. The second generation had the cleanest, smoothest, just most beautiful, timeless design you could imagine for that saga of the car. The engine is absolutely reliable. From what I've read and from what I've heard from other people that own this car, they say they have no problems. You want a rear-wheel drive car that's also mid-engine and boosted? Come on. Now that's something that you don't see anymore in the car community. The only thing you gotta really worry about is the whole snap oversteer thing, which they are notorious for. But of course, if you know what you're doing and know how to drive a rear wheel drive car properly, then you shouldn't really have to worry. These cars do come with the pop-up headlights. Of course, what everybody loves about the 90s is the pop-up headlights, which I do think they should return that. So I don't know. What y'all thinking, car companies? Bring back the pop-up headlights. Other than that, this car can make a good amount of power too. It is no slouch. And of course, you can have fun due to its rear-wheel drivetrain, so it'll be a blast. But definitely it's a car that's heavily underrated and nobody really talks about them anymore, which is kind of sad, to be honest, because these are really, really great cars. Cop yourself a Toyota MR2. Rather first gen or second gen. Third gen I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, it's MR2, I guess. For the fourth car on this list, I'm definitely gonna go with. It is not as, you know, forgotten about as the other cars I've mentioned, but I'm definitely gonna put it in this list. 300ZX. I don't really see much of them at meets. You'll see like one, if not two at most at meets. And I mean, they're pretty darn cool for what they are. I mean, you got a twin turboed or even a naturally aspirated car that still makes plenty of power. And of course, like I said, if you get turbo model, you can make even way more power. And you can brag about a Lamborghini stealing the headlights off of the 300ZX. But anyway, it's a rear wheel drive car, easily makes over 200 horsepower. And if you get twin turbo model, throw some mods on it, you can easily make tons and tons and tons and tons of power. It doesn't take too much to make it look pretty either. I mean, and for the most part, those cars are pretty reliable. The only really thing that sucks is that most mechanics don't even want to work on the car due to the engine space and that you really don't have much space to work with. But of course, if you truly love the car, then that shouldn't even matter and you should love it regardless. If you're willing to deal with the whole engine space issue, then I mean, you'll have a blast with this car. It will break necks everywhere also, and of course, again, it is a very forgotten about and underrated car in this car scene nowadays. Now, of course, the final car on this list that I'll just say is a very rare car nowadays. Like, you won't see them barely anywhere anymore unless it's like one of those meets specifically for those cars. And of course, I'm talking about none other than the car that I own myself. Honda Civic Del Sol. Now these cars are so forgotten about, it's unbelievable. This is probably one of the most like underrated Honda cars ever. They drive beautiful, they can break necks. Like, these cars, you don't understand. Like, these are, the Civic Del Sol is one of those cars that you can keep as a collectible, because it's definitely going to be one of those cars that's going to be worth a lot, you know, as the years go on. We're starting to see that with Hondas in general. All these older Hondas are starting to increase in value. It's one of those cars where you don't got to wide body the car and make it look good. The stock body lowered on suspension looks absolutely beautiful the way it is. Isn't the fastest car, so if you're thinking about getting a Honda, unless it's the new Type R, it is not fast at all in any way, shape, or form. Hondas can pretty much like swap any engine in there. Like, they're like Legos. They're so interchangeable with each other, and Del Sol is no different. K series in it, go ahead. If you want to put a B series in it, go ahead. I'd recommend is probably do a B series, since you don't have to, you know, change the mounts and stuff like that, because if you do go K, you are going to have to go over to the left side of the engine bay, whereas if the B series and D series are on the right side of the engine bay. Insurance, since it is over 25 years old, you can get it insured for cheap. Once you want a car that's pretty much rare, you don't see them often, good on gas, super reliable, and has a massive tunable platform, you can't go wrong when it comes out to the Del Sol. The Honda Civic Del Sol is definitely a car that you should look into if you're looking for something to be different and, just to stick out a little bit from the crowd. So drop some comments down below. Let me know what you guys miss or what you guys want to see more in the car community. And if you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a fat thumbs up. Don't forget to turn on post notifications and subscribe. It'll help out the channel a lot, and I appreciate all the people that have subscribed. I am Joseph J, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, stay humble, stay blessed. Peace.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me.